Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what I thought when I read the story from Jerome. Anyway, the guy who had his whole production database deleted. It's not because I don't care about what happened to him. I mean, I do care deeply, especially as a software engineer. But I think he was taking the very wrong approach when it comes to looking at AI. So last week, Mr. Jerry or Jerome was running his cursor agent to complete a task. And when that task was completed, he was horrified. The agent deleted his production database. And his reaction was, why would you do that? But is that what you're supposed to ask an AI? So throughout all his cursor rules, he had these clearly marked instructions for the AI not to guess any solution. Just follow the instructions, okay? He wrote things like never run any destructive commands, Git commands, never run irreversible code. He thought he had all the guardrails in place to prevent an issue. But the AI did it anyway. And I was with him up to that point. Clearly the AI had broken all the rules. But then he lost me. And you want to know how he lost me? Instead of trying to debug and figure out what happened, he asked the AI to confess. He lost me because he demonstrated that he does not understand how this tool works. Yet he was using it extensively to run and manage real businesses. This is a software that is used by car rental companies, and it handles reservations, payments, customer management, vehicle tracking, everything you can expect from these type of businesses. And he writes, some of our customers are 5-year subscribers who literally cannot operate their business without us. And then you have a command that delete the database, the production database, and all the backups in one go. I mean, I don't really want to defend AI here, but you can't blame it for this type of issue. The problem is that AI, or any AI agent in this case, are being treated as a drop-in replacement for automation. And let's think about automation for a second. Back in 2010, I worked with a company that had like a very manual deployment process. We used SVN, Subversion basically, for our version control. So in order to deploy code, we had to copy trunk, which is the equivalent of the master branch in Git. We had to copy that folder into separate release folders labeled like with the release date, and then make a second copy labeled current. So that way, when you pulled the current folders, it always contained the very latest version of your release. So one day, while deploying, I accidentally copied trunk, the master branch, twice. And I was in the command line, so I pressed the arrow key, the up arrow key to go back to my previous command, and I started editing it to fix my mistake. Then I continued the deployment without any issue, or so I thought. It turns out I didn't delete the duplicate copy that I had made. Instead, I accidentally edited the wrong command and deleted trunk instead. Later that day, a developer trying to complete his own task starts looking for the trunk and can't find it. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Somehow, the managers were informed of the issue and they scrambled left and right. They called for meetings and it was all hands on deck. By the time the news reached my team, the lead developer basically just logged into SVN and ran a revert command and fixed the issue. He checked the log and saw that my name was in there and I was responsible for deleting it. So as I don't want to say punishment, but my next task was to go and write a deployment script, a automated deployment script that eventually fix the mistake, any places where there was the possibility of copying the wrong file. That was fixed, and eventually the same script grew to become our CI/CD pipeline. That's automation. Automation fixes those issues that can come that can come from repetitive manual process. We could have easily gone the route of saying, like, why did SVN allow me to delete trunk? You should have had some more guardrails in there. But that wouldn't have solved the problem. The problem wasn't even about SVN being safe or unsafe. It was about having a weak point in the manual process. And unlike machines, humans cannot repeat the same task exactly the same way every single time. So we are bound to slip up and make a mistake. AI is not automation, at least not in that sense. It is work performed by a machine autonomously, but it is not automation. Just like me and you, AI is not designed to perform the same task over and over exactly the same way. With every iteration, there's just a small perturbation. Just try asking, let's say, ChatGPT the same question twice. Each time it will respond differently. It might end up arriving at the same conclusion each time, but the word choice will be different. And today, with AI generating a very large amount of code, we get the illusion of that same security from automation. But remember, automation means doing the same thing over and over exactly the same way. AI is more like me copy and pasting those branches. There's always a slight chance of making a mistake. And worse, it is not equipped to explain why it did what it did. We use terms like thinking or reasoning when we talk about a large language model. It feels like an intelligent agent is reflecting, but these terms are marketing terms slapped on top of the AI. In reality, the models are just generating the next token, the next most likely token. When you tell an AI to copy and paste a text, it doesn't run the copy command and then the paste command. Instead, it reads the message and then regenerates it from memory. Depending on how big your context window is, there's always a chance that the AI will not generate the exact same copy of text that was inputted, because it's predicting the next most likely word. This is why when you ask ChatGPT to rewrite like some known public works, any book in the public domain, it doesn't reproduce the exact same copy. It always changes a few words here and there. Okay, so now let's go back to the problems that Mr. Jerry Jerome faced. Why is there an accessible API that can delete all your production database? Why does that even exist? If the AI hadn't called that endpoint, someone else was going to do it eventually. It's like putting a big red self-destruct button in the middle of your car's dashboard. You have every incentives not to press that button because, well, you do like your car and, it takes you from point A to point B. But think about having a motivated child in that car, one who can wiggle out of his car seat. The moment that child frees himself, he's going for that big red button. And can you ask a child why they did something and then expect a realistic answer? I mean, you can ask them, but then the answer is not going to be helpful. Sometimes my kids end up pressing like the power button on my desktop. And right when I'm in the middle of work, I get really mad. And I have that exact same question. Like, why did you do it? And my kids always answer the same way, at least when they were toddlers. They would say, I did it because I pressed it. That's the same thing we should expect from a large language model. They don't know why they did a particular action. They have no way of recursively re-examining themselves. They're just predicting the next token. For Mr. Jur and his application, I suspect that a very large part of his application was vibe coded and that the product person probably AI generated the specs for the application. And then if he has an architect in there, a software architect, this one probably also used AI to spec all the product. And then the developer used AI to build the application. And then you have a code reviewer who goes in and use AI to review that same code. Now, when a bug appears, the only option is to interrogate that AI to figure out what went wrong. And by the time you are interrogating it, it's probably not even running on the same GPU that generated the code. And I mean, what? You're going to blame the GPU now? The simplest, maybe general solution would have been to know what you're actually deploying to production. Be aware of your code, be responsible for your code. Doesn't matter how it is generated. But a more realistic solution is to think about it. If you're going to use AI extensively, then build a process where competent developers can use it as a tool to augment their work, not a way to avoid accountability. And maybe even most importantly, don't let your CEO or CTO anywhere near the code. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.